All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining Charleston JS. This is the React JS Meetup. So we're doing weekly meetups. Uh, each week will be kind of a different theme. One will be Node, which we had last week. And then this week, React. And then we'll do uh, Dino and functional programming, and then Svelte and Vue. So each week we're going to do 30 minutes and have a presentation and possibly lightning round presentations too. So if you would like to give a 2 to 5 minute presentation, just mention it in the show notes or in the chat. And I also added some links in the chat. I don't know if everyone can see those. I'll add them again just in case, because sometimes that you don't see the notes until you join. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. And today we're going to talk about React on the server, which is a little weird. And this may be a little advanced for folks that aren't super familiar with React, but React has been around for a while. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the chat and I'll answer them. And then, just let me get through a little demo and we'll take some questions. So with that started, React on the server. React is a presentation library, and most of it works with the web or mobile or TVs, and just all kinds of presentation layers. And the abstraction has worked really well that other folks have found other ways to abstract React. That's why I kind of say React the planet. You can build command line applications with React. You can put React on, I think I've seen some stuff with hardware or animations, music, just about anything you can think of. But just a few weeks ago, I found this library, React-nil. And this library kind of allows you to think about React on the server. So with that, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to see if we can't get React to work on the server. And I don't know, I kind of call it mad science. It might not be mad science, but we'll see. So we're going to try to, kind of create like a Express framework where you can write, we'll build on top of Express, but where you can write React to declare your framework. So something like this, where you'll have your render, and then you define your components. We have an app component, a REST request component, a listen component, and see if we can't get that to work, and then maybe take it a little further. Can everyone see my screen okay? Cool, thanks. So with that said, kick this out of the way. I've got a little handler function here, just a request handler function that takes a request object and a response object, just like in Express. And what we're going to do is just import React, just like we would do it on the front end. And then we're going to import this render function from this library called React-nil. And basically all that library does is it goes into React and it voids or nulls out all of the places where React returns DOM. So it gives you the React API and you just don't have a DOM. You don't talk to the DOM. So that's kind of interesting. It's about 30 lines of code. And so we've got those two things. And what we're going to do is implement render and we'll just use our components. We'll do an app, and within the app, we'll specify a request, and we'll take a path, and we'll just add a handler function and point it to our hello, like that. And then we'll tell our app to listen. So we're going to add a listen component, and we're going to say port 3000. So we need a place to get these components. And in interest of time, I went ahead and built that in this local folder. So I'm going to import app request and listen. Probably hear my Jack Russell wanting some attention. Sorry about that. And we're going to pull that from hyper.js, just a file I created. And these three components, the app component will set up our Express server. The request component will take the server app, and in Express, you see it represented like this. You know, basically it's going to write out a function like app get slash, and then the handler, right? Hello. So the request is just going to kind of write that code out, and we'll show you how that looks in a minute. And then the listen is just going to call like app.listen 3000. So that's our first stab at this. We'll run this. This is running in Dino, which is kind of cool, but I can just start it up like that. And let's see, got a bug on line 10. Let's see, I forgot to close my listen component. Okay. Now we'll start that up, and hopefully we'll be listening on port 3000 in just 1 second. The nice thing about Dino is you give it a .jsx or .tsx file, and it'll automatically kind of compile everything for you. You don't have to set up anything. There we go. We're listening on port 3000. So we're going to just curl localhost 3000, and we get hello Charleston JS. Pretty cool. So so we're writing React on the server, and let's take a look and see how that actually works. We'll look at the hyper.js file. So if you look at this library called Opine, it's basically a clone of Express and Dino. So everything works like Express. And then we have React. And what we're doing is we're building components, and they're functional components. So in the app component, we take in props, and we just iterate through the children, and we attach the app prop, or attach an app prop, which is the Express application. So here would be like start Express, and we assign it to app, and we just iterate through the children and merge, if you will, the app property into the child, and then return the child. And then the second component, request, gets app as a property, and then the method property is assigned to get. So we could say, let's do a post, let's do whatever, a put, but if we don't specify it, it'll default to a get. And then we have our path and handler. These two properties we passed into our component when we declared that in React. And then, like I said, we just call app, the method, path, and the handler. Now, this is just prototype, proof of concept. We would obviously make this much more safe in a real production scenario, but it should give you an idea. And then finally, the listen component. We pass in the props, we get the port, and we call listen. Make sense? Cool. So let's see if we can take this a little further. and actually write a, React is kind of famous for its counter apps. So let's see if we can write a simple counter where if you do a get to the root, it will return the count. And then if you post an add path, it will increment it. And we'll just stick with that for right now, just to make sure I'm good on time. So if we go into ModJSX, and we've got our app. And one of the things I wanted to do is just kind of take this a little bit further. We've got this handler method, but what if we just did this? What if we did request and in request, and then inside there added a child for a component, right? So let's just call it counter, right? Then that way we take this request and then we just add this child counter, which is another component. And then we could have another request. We'll just say add, and it'll take the method post. And then let's call counter, but let's give it a property increment equals true or something like that, right? And then we'll end that with a request. Okay, so we might have to make some changes on our request component to look at a child and treat it as a component. And I really went ahead and already did that here on Hyper 2. And we can look at that. But now we're defining components, not just handler functions. So we want to create a counter component. Oh, 1 second. And let's go really crazy and bring in use state. Okay. So we're going to bring in our hooks. And in this counter component, it's just a function that takes props. And we're going to return null. And that's where the return nil is, because we don't have really any DOM to return. And what we're going to do is, let's see, look at my notes here. I think what we're going to do is in the props, there's going to be a handler, and we're going to pass it a function for the handler. So there, in the props, there'll be a handler function that hands this component, and then that's what we'll call. But first, we'll set up use state, and we'll do count, set count, and then that'll be use state 0. And please correct me. It's been a while since I've done this, so please correct me if I'm doing anything wrong. So we've got our state, and now we want to set up our handler, and it'll be like props dot handler, and then we pass in our request response function. And then what we should be able to do is say request.json count, whatever our count is. Okay. So let's see if that works. Takes a little while to start up. On Zoom, it doesn't take this long without Zoom, but I guess when you're recording and everything, it's a little slow. Okay, let's go. Curl localhost. Cool, we got count. So now we've got this post path add, and we're going to call the counter again, but we're going to set this prop inc true. So up here on our counter, we're going to say if props.inc. Then we want to call set count equals count plus 1. Right? Does that look about right? So if everything works well, then we can do curl host localhost 3000 add once it runs, and then it should increment that counter by 1. Or we'll have an error. Let's see what I did wrong. Oh, I can't see that. Let's do this. Okay. Okay, I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but obviously,
that looks fun.
Yeah, obviously nothing good. Okay, let's. So I do know that this will work, but I was really hoping new state would work because that would have been pretty cool. And it does work. It's just I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm creating a maybe this if statement's not right. Maybe I'm creating something there. But anyway, so let's do it this way. Let count, and then we have count set, and then we call add. We'll do count equals plus equals 1. Right. Let's try that. Okay. Okay, so hopefully there we go. It started. Let's post, and we got count 2, which is interesting. Let's do get count 2 add. Okay, so I know what's going on. The reason that it's calling that is because if we look at our render, the handler, the component's getting called twice, right? Request and request is getting called twice. So that's why count is equal to 2. So we really need to kind of put this count inside our handler function. And now, if we run this, we should get things working right. And maybe the set count will work right too. So we'll try that real quick. So count 1, count 2, cool. And we got total count 4. So that's pretty cool. So let's see if we can't get this to work. And sorry about the background noise. Let's see if this works. you might need use effect to change the state. That's a great question. To be honest with you, it's been a while since I've really dug into this, but you might need that. Okay, cool. We got count 0, and we got an error. Oh, I did a get. We need to do a post. Okay, so it's not blowing up, but something's not working right with state, and it's probably an error on my side. But anyway, hopefully you can kind of get the idea. This is kind of an interesting approach. And just to show you how that kind of works, if we look at Hyper2 JS, basically the request object is mapping over the children, verifying if it's a valid element, and then cloning that. And let's see. Am I looking at the right file? So what it should be doing is taking that handler function and passing that in as a prop. And I'm just not seeing it. Oh, here it is. So when the clone element happens, it merges and it passes this handler and injects this handler function that takes a function, and then it calls the app method, path, and function. So anyway, that is my take at trying to use React to build a server framework or something. Don't know what it is, but I think there's a lot of space to explore here, especially like creating declarative business logic, or working with, kind of giving your team a really nice composable way to compose kind of some business rules. So I think there's some really interesting things to explore here. So that's what I wanted to show today. Any other questions? It's kind of cool just seeing React run on the server, I think. And I'm going to keep working with this, and if I'm able to get through some of the use state or use effect stuff, I'll definitely share with the group. Yeah. All right. With that, any shout outs, or does anyone else have anything they would like to share?
Yeah, actually, this seems like the place to do it.
Shoot.
Hi, I'm Robert. Articulate is a company I work for, articulate.com and rise.com. And they're trying to hire like 50 devs over the next, over this year. Everything from engineering managers to I guess y'all wouldn't be QA folks, but like up and down the skill level stack. So if you're interested, give me a shout on the Charleston Tech Slack or ask Tom. But yeah, I figured this is the React thing. We use React all the time. And anyway, wanted to make sure we put that out there.
Are you using React on the server yet?
Man, I was using React on the server in like 2014, and at work, no, there's nothing on the server.
Cool.
Now, to be fair, there's some really cool stuff that's not this that you've been able to do for like 7 years with rendering, because you can use React on the server to build up static HTML and send that down
Yep.
to the client. And the big cool thing back in the day, I guess people still do this now, but you could be like, here's my really fast server-side rendered thing, and then when your JavaScript bundle downloads, you throw that on top of wherever you put it in your DOM, and so it give you the page, and so you could theoretically have progressive enhancement where if your server would respond to full page form posts and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I haven't seen what's been going on, so I came here thinking it'd be like, oh, we're streaming templates to the front end, but no, we're doing this. This is cool.
This is awesome. It kind of reminds me of like React Router too. It's just like another, even further behind server now. Ops engineer on my team would have a meltdown seeing this. The anti-JavaScript crew. But this is really cool. This is fun.
Yeah, I think you could actually, kind of compose some, like Terraform templates in React or something. I don't know. I ran across that project and I always thought that, React's declarative syntax really hits a lot of people, gives them some really good DX. And sometimes when you're writing APIs or writing business logic, you're trying to find where that parentheses is or where that curly braces is, right? And TypeScript really helps a lot. But this could even, I don't know, maybe take it a step further, or just be a nice little gimmick. I don't know. We'll see.
It's a cool like abstraction layer where you can kind of see, the business logic like right in front. So like for like configurations or something, I could see that being used. Definitely really interesting.
Yeah.
I just realized too, you've made a declarative like server setup instead like Koa and Express are all like like app.use, you're mutating something, but here you're just describing it instead of telling it how to set it up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks. Hopefully topics like this are of interest, but if you have something else you want, we're going to try to make the presentations being something interesting and not just here's another CS and JS library or whatever. But please let me know what you want to hear, and I'll work on lining up speakers. And if you would like to share a 15-minute presentation on some stuff that you're finding cool with React, please let me know. Really enjoy this stuff and look forward to doing it next time. I'll stick on the line if anyone else wants to chat, but other than that, that's our meetup. Thanks for joining.
This is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Want to dig into some other Frankenstein projects and see what I can muster.
Cool. It'd be great. Thank you.
It was great meeting everybody. Thank you.
Yep.
Likewise. Thanks so much. Tested my mic.
Sure.
You can hear? Okay. How many? I mean, is MongoDB, does that kind of fit underneath the JavaScript user group umbrella?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk MongoDB. We can do a presentation on that if that's something.
Well, I mean, I've been using Mongo, but in the last 3 months, I've been using this thing called Studio 3T.
Okay.
How many of you guys use Studio? How many of you guys use Mongo? Is that popular with this crowd, with this audience?
It's been a while since I worked with it directly, but I have used it.
Most of you using SQL, some kind of SQL database, or what? What's the most popular database for you guys?
Postgres, probably.
Postgres?
Postgres is pretty popular. We use a lot of MySQL depending on the service we're working with in my company. We got a lot of different services under the umbrella, but we usually use like MySQL like when working with like WordPress, unfortunately.
Interesting. Okay. I assumed a lot of you guys probably use Mongo, but doesn't sound like it's extremely popular with this audience. But primarily a SQL environment.
Yeah, you get a mix. I think Postgres and Mongo would probably be the two most popular of both SQL and NoSQL, would be my guess. But it's always good to see people working with data. I think that's a good topic.
Yeah, I was just gonna. I've just been so blown away by the Studio 3T product.
I've never heard of Studio 3T. So,
oh my gosh, it has. I mean, it's 10x my productivity with Mongo.
okay. So it's kind of like a mapper, a relational mapper to.
Well, I kind of think of it as I spent 20 years or so with Microsoft SQL Server because that's the only database, the ERP system I've been a consultant for, worked on. So don't have any direct experience with these other SQLs, but other versions of SQL Server, or other versions of SQL products. But yeah, it's out of the box, Mongo, out of the cloud, I guess you say now, but Mongo doesn't have. I don't think it has. It doesn't provide you with a very good user interface. But Studio 3T is just. I mean, it's even better. I find it even more helpful than like query. I mean, the Microsoft SQL console, I guess Postgres and all these. A lot of them have these products, these third-party products where you can build your queries and work with your data, right in the tool, rather and Mongo doesn't provide you anything anywhere near the Studio 3T level. But yeah, I was just curious if there were several of you that were interested in Mongo, or that used Mongo. I was going to say I'd be happy to do a lightning or something on Studio 3T, but again, from a newbie's point of view, I mean, all you guys are way over. I'm a hobbyist programmer in my retirement, as Tom knows. But I've just been so blown away by what's in Studio 3T that if there was by chance anybody that was using Mongo without it, unless they're using another tool that takes the place of Studio 3T, it really has. As the saying goes, it's changed my life as far as writing.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, if you can put together a 3 to 5 minute talk on it, I think it would be worth sharing. So yeah, just do that, and I'll make a note and pencil you in for next month.
Sure.
And yeah, again, I think everyone, comes to these to learn something new. So just because people are not using something doesn't mean it's not worth sharing. So,
I mean, it's really jumped up my productivity in these queries, in these advanced queries that we used to do in stored procedures. That Mongo really. I mean, Mongo doesn't have stored procedures, to the best of my knowledge, and I've been looking for something that allows me to write these really serious queries to get my workload done on the server, rather than how I had been doing it prior to 3 months ago. I bring this giant file down and do it all in JavaScript on the client, but now I can do these advanced queries on the server, and that's. It's helped my little app. I've built a little Civil War project, and I think it's really helped me a lot with making queries that work, work on the server as opposed to downloading these massive files like I was doing.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that's
sure. I'll be glad to demo it.
cool.
That's awesome. Looks like a nice way to have to work with JSON. So anytime you can make that less of a pain, it's always cool to see. So be happy to
Yeah,
check it out.
absolutely.
Awesome.
Okay.
Sounds
Hope you guys
good.
have a great night.
All right. Thanks,
Tom,
guys.
thank you so much. It was a great presentation.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for joining. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Take care, guys.